Welcome to the Women at the Wheel podcast. I'm your host, Maddie Weiner, and I'm pleased to be joined today by Beth Mooney, Senior Manager of Marketing and E-commerce for Dana Aftermarket. Beth, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Maddie. Looking forward to it. Appreciate the invitation.
Thanks for coming on. And Beth, I saw that you were part of our 2020 Women at the Wheel class. And from what I've read, you've spent a majority of your career in the automotive aftermarket. But I want to back up a little bit because even before you started your professional career, you had accolades to your name, graduating from Western Michigan University with a double major in marketing and German and a music minor in bassoon performance. That is a lot. So my question, what initially attracted you to marketing and German?
So I think the attraction to marketing was twofold, really. Marketing is exciting because it's both an art and a science. And, I grew up in a household of engineers, and so I definitely had a technical mindset. But I think also the music performance brought a lot of the artsy side out, and marketing was a great way to work with customers, but also bring some science to how we approach marketing as a profession, especially fast forward to now as we step into, more of a digital environment around marketing. So I think that thinking about the German piece, I have family in Germany, and I think it was a natural progression for me to study the language and the history of the country, and really appreciate some of my own heritage and background.
Mm-hmm.
And the bassoon, I don't know. I think somebody said we need a bassoon and a bassoon for this particular piece, maybe Peter and the Wolf or something. And back in junior high, I decided to try it, and then I stuck with it. So
Very cool. And you still play or?
I do still play. There's a concert band here in Toledo that I played in regularly up until COVID really changed how we perform in that band now. But I'd like to return to it now that we're kind of resuming performances, and just need to carve that time out of my calendar.
Understandable. I think that's a challenge for many, but very cool
Right,
background.
for sure. Hmm.
So, Beth, I want you to take me back to the time when you first got your job at GM. Why did you decide just initially to start your career in automotive?
So I had the benefit of really having my dad play a large role in that. He was a innovator in the paint spray equipment business and automotive paint refinish. And during the summer, I was able to intern in that environment and work on a lot of the marketing pieces, writing newsletters, and really getting to know those technicians who were working in the paint business.
Oh,
Worked with a lot of
interesting.
collision and body shops.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I had a pretty good understanding of what customers were looking for as it related to getting, vehicles through bays quickly. People wanted their vehicles returned quickly, right? Even back then, it was all about uptime and,
Right.
how can you really sell the value of your equipment
Mm-hmm.
to um, create not only a profitable business environment for those collision shop managers, but also make it easy on technicians to really turn out a good quality job so that you didn't have, warranty returns, right? So I was very much focused on that customer, probably from the time I was, like I said, interning,
Wow.
um, even, during the summer, um,
Very interesting.
in the paint spray business.
How old were you when you started that? You said you interned. Was it, in college or?
Um, it must It probably was like maybe between my freshman and sophomore years of college.
Very cool.
Um, and then I knew that I wanted to work overseas and work for a non-US based manufacturer to get some of that experience.
Mm-hmm.
So it really took me to Opel, and that's where I made the connection to General Motors. At the
Okay.
time, Opel was owned by General Motors. Um, and through that relationship, I came back to General Motors as a contractor working on a project that really I had started when I was at Opel.
Oh, very interesting. Okay. Very
Mm-hmm.
cool. Okay. Yeah, so I do want to touch on some of your international experience because that's very unique. Tell us about your time in Germany and how that time has influenced and shaped your, professional career.
It was a fun time because at the time that I was at Opel, they were launching a significant body style change to the Opel Corsa, which is a
Okay.
significant vehicle platform for them. They also launched a really sporty, fun little car called the Opel Tigra. And really, I was immersed in doing a lot of the research to support the commercialization, the launch teams, um, really trying to define the specific characteristics that are unique by country. I was really immersed in supporting the product teams with country specific market research to define all of the different characteristics that those buyers felt were important when specifying what kind of vehicle they wanted to buy. So, in some countries, the tax structure penalizes large engines. So smaller engines were really popular, but people really wanted to differentiate themselves from their neighbor in terms of how their vehicle looked.
Right.
So in those countries, Opel placed a lot more emphasis on exterior vehicle design and providing fun interior colors and bold patterns, and but under the hood was maybe a very small engine that was more
Interesting.
affordable or more compliant with the tax structure. In
Oh,
other
wow.
countries, it was just the opposite. Large engines were preferred, but if all the vehicles were silver, that would have been okay. There wasn't a whole lot of interest in how it looked. It was really all about function. So that was very interesting for me early in my career to, differentiate across those different countries, the differences in customer needs and what drove those customer needs through the buying behaviors that influenced a customer's purchase decision.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And to think that different countries have a different attitude toward different colors or different looks or different styles.
Right?
Like,
Yeah.
I'm sure that opened you up to, considering other viewpoints from like a global perspective, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah, the experience has really helped me in my current role here at Dana. I mean, it's helped me throughout my whole career, but
Yeah.
right now, really the work I'm doing with our e-commerce platforms, um, those requirements are very country specific. And we can't build a platform in North America and assume that that same platform will meet the needs of our teams in Europe and in Asia and South America. They all have considerations that we need to be mindful of, when we're putting together our program requirements.
Very interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. Now, Beth, I wanted to get back to sort of your career trajectory here. I know you've worked for the likes of Bendix, Tenneco, and Eaton over the years, and obviously now Dana. And since the early '90s to today, there's been quite a tech revolution when it comes to marketing. I know e-commerce is in your title. So, how have you approached the switch to digital over the years?
It's interesting because I think as an early adopter of digital,
Hmm.
I just I put a lot of emphasis on um, being curious about how digital could bring together manufacturers and end customers in the buyer's journey.
Mm-hmm.
And I did a lot of experimentation early on with social media and blogs and trying Google, paid ads as many as 20 years ago when
Oh,
these
wow.
things were just, becoming available to us as marketers. And I also spent a tremendous amount of time just trying to upskill myself anywhere I could find, online courses, Google certifications, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I've really done a lot of invested just a lot of personal time in self development around that. And then as such, just worked with different platforms like, experimenting with HubSpot early on, experimenting with, um, you know, Facebook and Twitter, um, YouTube, and other digital platforms, um, to figure out what the best way was to build, communications to end customers. Um, and really, if I put my science hat on, I said early on, marketing is fun because it's both art and science.
Mm-hmm.
All the analytics that are available is the result of implementing digital marketing efforts really provide so much insight into your customer, their persona, what their needs are, the comments and everything that we receive in social media.
Mm-hmm.
All of that can come together to help you really shape, what the customers are looking for, which is helpful in new product, launch, um, and also just building messaging, for various customer campaigns.
Yeah, for sure. That's interesting. And what would you say has been the biggest switch over the years in your time in the aftermarket? Is it the switch to e-commerce, or sort of what's the biggest switch, and what's stayed the same as technology evolves in your opinion?
Um, I think what has stayed the same is really the customer need, right?
Mm-hmm.
Understanding what drives the customer to solve a problem, communicating the value that your brand delivers to help solve that problem, and then providing them a really easy path to purchase has been, to me, what the reward of having both marketing and e-commerce come together. It has allowed us to really create that efficient model in
Mm-hmm.
what is oftentimes in industrial and automotive a fairly complex or highly technical, um, buyer's journey.
Right.
You're not oftentimes just buying a component. There's a tremendous amount of um, guided selling that can help customers get to the right part the first time. Make sure that you've got the form, fit, and function that
Mm.
makes the customer happy and gets them back on the road quickly. So digital really enables a much more efficient selling process that I think accelerates meeting customers' needs, and also, like I said, provides a tremendous amount of analytics to us as manufacturers to really hone in on what the customer is looking for. That obviously influences our product design,
Right.
inventory, and making sure that what we do every day, day in and day out as a manufacturer, is resonating with the needs of our channel partners and our end customers.
Yeah, yeah. I love how you describe it as an art and science. It's so true. In the way you described it, yeah, it all gels. So, yeah, that's really interesting. Now, speaking of your role at Dana,
Mhm.
so I'm wondering if you can go into sort of the day-to-day of your role. Tell us, what your position entails and the importance of e-commerce to Dana in the B2B realm today.
Yeah, I have I took on the e-commerce responsibilities a couple of years ago during COVID, and I was I hope our customers feel this way, but, I was really proud of having a fully functional e-commerce portal that our B2B customers were already doing business on. Because
Mm-hmm.
during COVID, it became, business, I don't have to tell anyone, it became so disjointed. And being able to have, Dana's whole aftermarket portfolio available at your fingertips 24/7 to all of our global customer base, where they could transact business with us. They could look up order status. They could look at tracking numbers, when, freight wasn't always very um, predictable.
Yeah.
But uh, I think our customers, the feedback that we got were that our customers really made use of that portal and appreciated all the transparency that we were able to demonstrate using the DanaAftermarket.com portal
Mm-hmm.
during that time. And since then, we've we launch ongoing enhancements to that portal based on how customers are doing business with us and what they tell us is important, to be able to manage their business and really just in overall make it easier to do business with Dana.
Yeah, yeah, very interesting. That's awesome, and I love to hear, sort of how you've tried things and experimented with things and invested in yourself in order to, get where you are today. So that's pretty awesome. And I want to transition to, talking about being a woman in the aftermarket. Obviously, this is the Women at the Wheel podcast.
Right.
And, I think the visibility of women in the aftermarket has grown significantly over the years. But
Mhm.
what advice would you give to other women looking to advance their career in the aftermarket as you have?
I would say be bold, right? Be confident, be bold, bring thought leadership, be, courageous in your role, help your company or, demonstrate in your role where your company can grow as a result of um, bringing that thought leadership into the industry. I think in many cases, sometimes I hear that automotive is slow to change. I
Mm,
think digitization has driven a lot of acceleration in that area, and if you can get behind that um, and bring others along with you, bring your channel partners along, bring other women along in the industry to spearhead and lead those initiatives with their companies. And then, as we come together during, key industry led forums and we
yeah.
can discuss, um, how to continue to influence that trend. I think those are things that I have found to be really, beneficial. Um, and really bringing others along with you, whether they're your staff, folks around the company, channel partners, and customers. Being in marketing, not unlike being in sales, right, really gives you the opportunity to get out and network and meet others and really build that influence.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. I love the statement, be bold. That's awesome. That's amazing. And taking people with you too. I'm sure you've probably mentored many people and taught others. So that's
And
huge.
have benefited from that myself, right? I mean,
Hmm.
others that have helped me um, and demonstrated courage, in their roles to be bold and friends that are in automotive and industrial with industrial manufacturers now that I'm friends with maybe 30 years into my career, um,
Hmm.
and we still all uh, really enjoy our roles and where we're at in automotive and appreciate the trust and confidence that the industry, has put with us in these roles that focus so much on change management within the organization.
Hmm.
Um, and just really appreciate the vote of confidence and trust in taking that leadership role.
Yeah, that's awesome. Very interesting. Well, Beth, I want to thank you so much for being on Women at the Wheel podcast. And yeah, we really appreciate your time. Thanks for sharing your expertise and your wisdom with us.
My pleasure. Appreciate it. Thank you.